Good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our program. This is the Original Historical Music Society of Detroit special showcase presentation, Searching High for Lowe. And Lowe means none other than Detroit's own premier guitarist, Robert Lowe. Welcome to the program, Robert.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Those were two great tunes, and we enjoyed you doing those two songs. The first one, How Time Flies, and the second one began from the album New Love.
Right.
When will the album be released, Robert?
Hopefully in mid-October. I hear somebody talking.
When do you expect it to be able to hit the stores? And
hopefully right around Christmas time.
Around Christmas time?
Right.
Who are some of the other musicians involved in the project?
Well, matter of fact, in this project, we were able to synthesize a lot of different music, and really I played all the music, all the instruments myself.
That's wonderful, and I could tell there's a certain cohesiveness, especially after having been there myself. Let's go back to the old days for a minute when we were in high school. And for everyone who may not know, Robert and I have known each other for many, many, many years. And tell us a little bit about your history, how you started playing, and who were some of your major influences?
How I started playing. My major influences obviously was like Wes Montgomery, George Benson, guys of that caliber. How I started playing was I was just a little guy and wanted a guitar. My folks bought me one and I started playing.
What was your first guitar? Do you remember?
What was my first guitar?
Yeah, what was it?
It was a Fender.
Fender?
Yeah, Fender guitar. Yeah.
You know, the Fender has a sound that has transcended time and space.
Definitely.
And in the hands of a master such as yourself, we could consider it a magic tool.
Well, over the years, I kind of switched a little bit. Now I have a Fender amp and a Gibson guitar. So
okay.
I kind of switched it around a little bit.
Well, the effectiveness remains more effective than ever. Tell us about the first album, Double Dip.
Yeah.
Who was involved in that project, and when was the album originally released?
It was released in about 85, 89, somewhere in that area. And Downbeat gave us 3.5 stars for it. So we had good reviews for it, write-ups in the Chronicle and Free Press, you know, with the news. So we had good response with the record, and it's still available.
Tell us a little bit about the original group, the Royal Crusaders. Who are some of the members in the group?
Now you're taking me way, way, way back. That's high school, man. Let me see. Was it Kenny Poole? Come on, help me out, because you already know some of that.
Isaac Callan.
Who was it?
Ike.
Yeah.
Thomas Postel.
Thomas Postel. Oh, man. Melvin Griffin. Come on, man. I should have wrote that down before you asked me that question.
Well, hey, you know, we've done so many things in our lifetime, it's almost impossible to remember every vivid detail, every person, because the experiences have transcended time and space to a maximum degree, where we find ourselves in the present, preparing ourselves to do this work with these new projects and taking it out to the public, taking it out to the United States and to Europe and to everyone, to give them the benefit of what we in Detroit have been doing all our lives.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about your stint that you're doing right now with Norman Thrasher and Friends. How'd you become involved in that? Well,
I've been knowing Norman for a few years, and Norman decided to do a kind of a blues thing down at Bomax Lounge, which is on Gratiot and Broadway, and we perform there every Monday. And we have a nice crowd. We have a nice thing. We like to invite everybody to come by if they like the blues. You know, also play the blues. So come on down and see us, check us out there.
Also, for many of you who may not know, Robert Lowe is the arranger and the original guitarist with a group from Detroit in the 60s called the Precisions, which included Billy Prince, Michael Morgan, Arthur Ashford, who still resides in Highland Park, and Dennis Gilmore. Robert arranged and wrote a lot of that material, starting with the first song that they had, Such Misery, and ending with
Instant Heartbreak,
right? And that was on the Drew label, originally distributed by Cedra Records, Yolanda Cohen here out of Detroit, and Ray Jackson, and later it was distributed by Laurie Records out of New York. Tell us about some of your experiences with the Precisions, because I remember you and I played a lot of gigs together with them at Frank Brown shows at the Arcadia.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, the Precisions was one of the first groups that I worked with. Matter of fact, like you taking me way back again. This is.
I'm a historian. I can't help it.
I don't want to say the years, how long ago, but it was the first group I traveled with, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, we worked on the Moms Mabley tour. We worked all up and down the East Coast, Solomon Burke's tour. We worked the Apollo Theater, the Howard Theater in Washington, just a numerous number of places that still dear to my heart, the memories. I remember a lot of those places, man.
You know, a lot of people ask me about the Precision's material, and they always want to know, well, who was the basic arranger? And it gives me a lot of pride and pleasure to tell them that you were the actual person who did a lot of those arrangements and who the central ideas of those songs were focused around.
I had a key part in it, but the guy named Dale Warren did the actual arrangements and the writing of the charts and stuff
And Mike
like
Terry,
that.
too.
And Mike Terry, right, yeah.
Was Sonny Sanders involved in any of those projects?
I don't quite remember him. The two that I mentioned, those were the two instrumental guys that took control of the music part.
Well, one thing I remember quite vividly, especially the shows that we did at the Arcadia, whenever we played, we always turned it out.
Oh, yeah,
and I can
had
still
fun.
see in my mind the Precisions jumping 10 feet up in the air.
That's right.
And
that's
doing
right.
cartwheels and
That's
flips and landing in perfect symmetry.
And singing all at the same time.
All at the same time. They inspired a lot of local groups to come from the city of Detroit.
That's right.
And a lot of people took what they learned from the Precisions and went on to do other things, although
Exactly.
there's not a whole lot of people left as far as groups from that era.
Right.
Which is why we encourage all of those who may be watching this program who have connections with Robert and myself from the past or from the present to come out and become involved in telling the story, because what we're doing is telling the complete history of the music of the city of Detroit. That includes artists from the past, the present, and those future artists to come. And these showcase presentations are designed to inform you, the public, of the history and the rich legacy that has been left by people like Robert, myself, and numerous others. And we encourage those of you who have memories, who have experiences, who would like to come on this program and tell those stories. You can get in touch with me, courtesy of the Original Historical Music Society of Detroit, 18071 Winthrop, Detroit, 48235. Now, Bobby, one other thing.
Yes.
Your albums are available to the public, right?
Yes, they're available. You can mail order them if they're not at your local record store. You can send it care of myself, P.O. Box 35, 102, Detroit, Michigan, 48235. And just write down the name of the album that you're interested in, either Double Dip or New Lover, and I'll send you the information.
Thank you. One other thing, you have come a long way from the old days when we were basically just playing one instrument apiece. I know most of us who are still performing have learned to do a lot of different things and have learned to play many different instruments. What other instruments are you playing right now?
Well, actually, when I told you earlier that I played most of the instruments, I only really play the guitar, but through the vehicle of MIDI, it allows you to play other instruments, and therefore I can play bass, piano, horns, anything you can hear, I can play.
What's in your future, Bobby? What looms on the horizon for you?
Well, hopefully to do some touring, some traveling, and some promotion of the new records, and the new record and the previous record, and play some music.
One thing I'd like to do, I would like to kind of pull together as many of us who may still be around to do a reunion gig. As you know, what's happening with the commercial music market is there's been a resurgence of music in the 60s
Right.
and the 70s.
Right.
And all of these groups are getting back together. All these groups are performing. Detroit seems to have the least track record of pulling people back together, and I don't know if it's because we're so scattered or because too many people don't have pleasant memories and don't feel good about what they did, because we know that a lot of us did not get paid for services rendered.
Right.
But hopefully the Original Historical Music Society of Detroit can do something to make inroads to make sure that we can at least find out where the money went and to possibly get paid.
Well, Frank, it seems to me that you're on the right track. If anybody can can help pull some of these guys together. And if they have a bad attitude, to straighten it out, you're the guy that'll help them. And I appreciate you having me here. So that's why I'm here. I'm here because of you.
Well, I appreciate you being as wonderful and as knowledgeable and as intrinsic as I have known you to be for all these years. You continue to be a great inspiration for all of us. We know you've got a gig to do tonight, and we thank you so much for joining you here on our program.
Thanks a lot, Frank.
And we hope to have you back very soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And for the Original Historical Music Society of Detroit, this has been your host, the president and founder of the Original Historical Music Society of Detroit, Francisco Frank Garcia El Segundo, saying, may all your tomorrows be as great as your yesterdays.